Hi guys, and welcome to this video, which is going to cover the removal of the lower portion of the grinder to allow you to thoroughly and properly clean it, because it's something that you have to do with coffee grinders, and it's a simple fact. It needs doing. Coffee is a foodstuff. Coffee does go off, it does go bad, so you don't want to be leaving coffee residue in there for long periods of time. Once a month would be perfectly adequate, so this is a perfect time to be doing this because I've now been using this for about 4 weeks, and I will demonstrate how you can go ahead and strip this for cleaning, showing the basic method as provided by the Beanque team, and I will also show you the removal of this whole lower unit. So the first thing to do is to remove the lower burr, but before you do that, you will have fiddled about with this to the extent that you have gotten yourself a good setting for your grind, where you will typically only need to click in or out 1 or 2 clicks to get that perfect grind. So the first thing you need to do is find out where you're at, and just in case you have any residue wedged in the burrs, as I do here, for example, a good way to clear that is give it a good sharp tap on your palm, sit it upside down, and fire up the grinder like so. This should dislodge anything that's stuck in there and allow it to fall back inside. First thing to do is wind this in and count the clicks. So I'm about 19 clicks out from fully closed there. So at this point I can unwind this. Now what I'm doing here, and I do the same with my Hario hand grinder, is using my thumbnail there to hold down that bottom burr so that this unscrews without clicking unnecessarily, because these are only plastic that bear on these little ridges here, and obviously clicking unnecessarily across them with plastic will wear that down, and over time it will mean it won't hold so well. So with that released, release that gently. It's on a very strong spring. Lift that away like so, and that's your lower conical burr. You can see there's quite a build-up of coffee grounds on there, as you can see. And then at this point, you've actually got pretty good access to the underside of this. Let me try and shine a light into this. Hopefully, I'm going to use the light on my cell phone there, and hopefully you can see. That's a little better. You can kind of see the inside of that, and you can see that there's not much there for residue to stick to. It's sort of smooth black plastic, really. It's just the burr itself, and at this point you can take the supplied brush, or better than that, an old toothbrush, because the bristles on a toothbrush are a bit stiffer, and pop that spring out and get that out of the way, and also give that a little bit of a tap if this is going to come off, because there is a plastic spacer which is easily lost if you don't know it's there, and if that drops out while you're unawares, then you could lose that. It's a little plastic spacer, top hat shaped, and it goes with the brim downwards, which I will show in close-up shortly. So with that removed, that's your square drive that drives the lower burr around while this upper burr is fixed in place. You can get yourself a toothbrush, give that a good scrub, and that will loosen the worst of this detritus, which is good for a general clean. But to give it a good proper clean, you've got 3 cross-headed screws here. So you need yourself a small cross-head JIS screwdriver, a decent quality one. Don't skimp on this, because if you chew these heads up, you will just leave yourself struggling to remove this in future. And then you just need to unscrew all 3 of these screws, which are, as you can see, quite long. So back in a second with the others done. We're back with those screws undone. At this point, this whole unit, you can see, is a little bit loose, and that will just, in fact, if you get a hold of the burr there, because you really don't want to drop these because they're ceramic and they can break, but you can pull the whole unit out like so, as you can see. This shows you the actual inside of it, and this is just the cone section that the beans drop down. And again, if I light this up, you should be able to see the chute that the beans come down. If I can get the light in the right place, and if I can angle that correctly for you, bear with me while I try and locate that. There we go. It's actually up there. I don't know, you probably can't see that very well, so apologies. It's a little tricky to show, but the chute is up there. I don't know how well that's coming through at all. Apologies if that's not very visible, but it's literally just a small side of that's the chute, and it drops down into this, which is a coned shape, as you can see, and then straight down into the burr. So this bit, a little brush will get rid of any sort of loose detritus. There's nothing in there for the coffee grounds to get stuck in. So you can give that a bit of a brush, a bit of a tap and a shake out, and put that to the side. All you then need to do is you can wash this unit. Again, a little brush would actually suffice on that, because there's not really anything for the beans to get stuck in, especially because that lip there seals on this lip here, so it's dropping straight into the burr grinder. But the upper burr just drops out. You can see it's got two divots cut into it, which locate into these half circles there to stop that rotating. Then just give these a wash, and these, as you can see, that's how they fit together. So this is how your beans drop down into there, and as this rotates like so, it's crushing and grinding your beans against these teeth, which fall down these flutes, and they gradually get finer and finer until these smaller teeth grind them into the powder that we use for making the coffee. So that's how you dismantle that. Wash these in warm soapy water, rinse them, leave them to dry, and once dry you reassemble in exactly the opposite fashion. You simply pop this in this side, making sure you align the two cutouts like so that burr cannot move, and then feed this onto here, aligning the screw holes, and once you've got it in place, it will not rotate. You can feel it kind of locks in, and then replace your screws. At that point, you take your little top hat spacer, and it goes this way around. You pop that onto there, you pop your spring onto there, you pop your lower burr onto there, making sure it's aligned with the square so it slides on like so, and then you screw this back down. Screw it down fully, and then wind it back out the number of turns, in my case 19, and wind it back out the number of turns that's appropriate for your grind. And you may find after you've cleaned it that you might need to turn it back in another click, because obviously with the build-up of coffee grounds over a period, it will technically make the grind that little bit finer. So there you go. For a few people who said, how do you clean this? Because I know a few people have actually asked, how would you clean the grinder? It's actually very, very easy. It's almost as easy as the Hario Slim grinder. The only difference with the Hario Slim grinder is you don't need to undo any screws. The one other thing to remember, when you're tightening the screws back in, and this, you only need to tighten them until they stop turning and no more, because you're screwing screws into plastic. You don't need to crank them in there. It's quite literally just enough that they stop turning, and this is held in place by the upper ring, so this can't move, and then this, obviously the tension of this is held in place by the spring, but you don't need to crank those screws down because you will strip the threads if you do. And just a very brief clip here to show the burrs after cleaning, show how nicely they come up. And then, as mentioned, slot this in. Doesn't matter how which orientation, as long as it's on the square arbor, and presses in, and you can see that cleans up really, really nicely indeed. I'm going to go out 18 clicks, and that should make up for the initial couple of grinds for the residue that built up previously. I hope that was useful. Thank you for watching and enjoy your coffee, and we will see you in the next video.